Now, 200 years ago, a community in the East End of Glasgow celebrated an important victory. They went to court to defend their right to walk along the riverbank near their homes, and they won. Their story is one of many celebrated in a new film and song. Our arts correspondent, Pauline McLean, reports.
So you're pretty sure that this is the wall?
I think so. We're in the right place. It's the right period. It's a stone wall, which it certainly was. And, it's the right angle as it goes straight down to the river there.
Robert Dawson-Scott is a playwright who's lived in the East End of Glasgow for the past 30 years. And this wall, well, it's central to one of the area's most treasured stories, the Battle of Harvey's Dyke. It all starts with Lang Tam Harvey.
So here's this guy who makes a pile of money out of making whiskey up at Port Dundas, and he buys himself a big house, like you do, and he then decides that he doesn't like people walking along the bottom of his garden, which is like here on the Clyde. And he goes to the extent of building a wall to stop people doing it.
Local people took matters into their own hands and tore down the wall, but Harvey simply built another one with spikes on the top and broken glass along the river to prevent anyone from approaching. And when they did, he was waiting for them with soldiers who arrested them. But still, the community refused to give up.
They took up a subscription all around the town and took Harvey to court to say that this is a right of way.
Harvey lost, but still wasn't done. He appealed to the House of Lords and lost again, and that just made locals even angrier.
Well, the whole city was outraged by this behaviour, and people who own pubs started putting up signs saying, we don't sell Harvey's whiskey here, all this kind of stuff.
Now the story is at the centre of a new oral history project, Tales from the Riverbank, which explores the history of the whole area. An area famous for its people power, from the Carlton Weavers to the Red Clydesiders.
Some of the women that we interviewed were involved in school sittings. Wanted to shut down the school. They said, well, we're not having that. And then there was do you remember the story about the Parkhead mums? It was a kind of rat-run kind of thing. And a couple of kids got knocked over and nobody was doing anything about it. So they said, right. And they just went out in the street and kind of looked down and said, come on then, if you're hard enough in your Ford Escort or whatever it was. And sure enough, they got the street closed off. So yeah, there's a good long history of that kind of, we're not having this actually.
Jacqueline McNellis is part of the choir which was brought together to perform a new version of the 200-year-old ballad.
It's always been like that from what I remember. I was born in Bristol. Don't mess with the Brigton folk. I would say makes you quite proud, to think that the folk years and years ago were fighting for their rights, and quite rightly so.
As is Phoebe McCallum.
Well, I think the East End and the whole people do stick together and will help each other out if they're in a fix. I don't live in the area, but a granny did, and that was why I applied to see if I could come along. And I found out things that I didn't know. I thought I knew so much about the area, and I certainly didn't know this story at all.
That's our arts correspondent, Pauline McLean, reporting there.